Tonight's story comes from a young woman in Tay Binh, Vietnam. It's a chilling memory, passed down to her by her father. A true story. Something he experienced firsthand, and something he still can't forget to this day. It happened many years ago, during one of the most tense moments in Vietnam's history. The year was 1979. The entire country was on high alert. By coincidence, or perhaps fate, the very first night he set foot in the military was the exact same night the Sino-Vietnamese border war broke out. But what haunted him the most wasn't the sound of gunfire. No. It was something far more eerie. Something that happened later that night. A strange, bone-chilling encounter that still makes him shiver when he remembers it. And now, here is his story. Exactly as he told it to his daughter. Let's listen, together. I still remember that fateful night, like it happened yesterday. Even though so many years have passed, it still haunts me. A terrifying memory, like a scar that never heals in my mind. I was born and raised in a peaceful rural village. Until I turned 18, I had never once stepped beyond the gates of my hometown. Growing up, I heard countless ghost stories from the villagers. Tales of people being haunted, or followed by something they couldn't see. As for me, I had my fair share of strange encounters too. Most of them happened late at night, or just before dawn. Usually when I was out in the fields, catching fish or shrimp. There was one time, I was crouching down, checking my traps, when suddenly, someone started throwing mud and clumps of dirt at me. But every time I turned around to look, there wasn't a single soul in sight. It kept happening, again and again. Out of pure frustration, I grabbed a lump of dirt and hurled it back into the darkness. And then, from that same direction, mud came flying back at me, a heavy downpour, like a storm of wet earth. I panicked, and ran home as fast as I could. But to be honest, all of those moments felt more like mischievous pranks. I had never seen a ghost with my own eyes, or witnessed anything truly horrifying. Until 1979, right after Lunar New Year that year, I officially joined the army. My heart was full of excitement and pride. After all, my grandfather had once fought in the fierce Battle of Khe Sanh. I thought, maybe now, it was my turn to do my small part to protect the country. That day, I boarded a truck with a group of young recruits, not just from Tay Binh, but from many provinces in the lowlands as well. We were all being sent to the same unit, stationed near Lang Son town, close to the northern border. The journey was long and exhausting. It wasn't until around 4:30, maybe closer to 5 p.m., that we finally arrived. At the barracks, we were issued basic gear, though no weapons yet. Then we were assigned to squads, and shown where we'd eat and sleep. Since it was our first day, and everyone was worn out from the trip, we were allowed to rest early. The moment I lay down on the bed, I fell asleep, almost instantly. That night, I shared a bed with another young recruit named Sunny. He was from Hai Duong. We bonded quickly, both of us were fresh-faced rookies, new to everything, and now sharing the same room. My sleep was deep. Until suddenly, deafening gunfire ripped through the night, jolting the entire barracks awake. Then came the blaring sound of the alarm bell, echoing relentlessly, like it was tearing the darkness apart. We, the group of new recruits, were sound asleep when the deafening explosions tore through the silence. The thunderous sounds of gunfire jolted me upright. Sleep vanished in an instant. The alarm bell clanged over and over again, sharp, relentless, as if the very sky itself was being ripped open. At first, none of us had any idea what was happening. We just shot up from our beds, glancing at each other in panic, still half-dressed and disoriented. Only after a few frantic moments did we learn the truth. Chinese troops had suddenly launched an attack. It was an ambush, right in the middle of the night. It reminded me of when I was a child, back during the American War. Whenever the air raid sirens went off, the adults in my village would grab me by the hand and rush to the bomb shelter. I had heard bombs fall. I had seen the skies turn crimson with fire. But what happened that night was on a completely different level. Far more terrifying, far more chaotic. We had just enlisted. We hadn't even been given rifles yet. No proper training, no weapons, nothing. Immediately, the commanding officer gave a clear order. Any soldier with a weapon was to stay and fight. As for the rest of us, the ones who were unarmed, we got ready to escort the civilians into the forest, to protect them from being slaughtered. My heart was pounding, with a mix of emotions, fear, helplessness, confusion. The older soldiers whispered that the Chinese army was brutal, just like the Khmer Rouge. They said, the moment the Chinese troops crossed over, anyone who didn't speak Mandarin would be shot on sight. Soldier, or civilian, it didn't matter. They fought using sheer numbers, a human wave tactic. There were far more of them than us. They had all the weapons, the ammunition, even armored vehicles. And we were barely prepared. Caught off guard, in the dead of night, we never stood a chance to fight back. We, a bunch of new recruits from the lowlands, had barely set foot in the rugged mountains of Lang Son. I was from Tai Bin, where the land is flat and calm as a sheet of paper. So every uphill climb left me breathless, my legs trembling with every step. Fortunately, among us was a squad leader, a seasoned soldier who had been stationed there for years. He knew every path, every slope, like the back of his hand. He took charge, calmly, decisively, guiding us as we led the civilians deeper into the forest. He said, "Prioritize the elderly and the children. Bring rice and supplies too. Once we're deep enough into the jungle, the Chinese won't be able to find us." I remember it vividly. Each of us carried either an old person on our back, or held a small child in our arms. Some even had to shoulder sacks of rice, while supporting a pregnant woman at the same time. The jungle path was pitch dark, not even a sliver of moonlight. Thick branches scratched our faces, and thorny vines whipped our skin raw. But no one uttered a word of complaint. We kept marching, silently, steadily, deeper and deeper into the forest. Our steps were heavy, yet urgent. We hid the villagers in rocky hollows, under cliffs, or deep crevices between the mountains. Some even climbed high into old trees, clinging there, motionless, waiting for daylight. We dared not speak above a whisper. Even the faintest sound might give away our position, and cost us all our lives. That night was a night I will never forget. We kept hiding in the forest, waiting for things to calm down before daring to head back out. I remember, our group managed to guide 5 or 6 waves of civilians safely into the deep woods. But just as we were about to return for more, we were spotted by Chinese troops. At that moment, there were 6 of us, including me. Only the squad leader had a gun. He immediately lowered his voice, and spoke firmly without hesitation. "If we run straight out now, we're dead for sure. We can't all die together. We split into 3 groups, 2 men each, and run in different directions. As you run, make as much noise as you can, shout, hit trees, throw rocks. If the civilians hear it, they'll know to run deeper into the forest. And the Chinese, hearing the commotion, will come after us instead. That way, at least our people might survive." Sunny, the young soldier from Haiduang, and I were paired together. It was only our first day there, so I had no idea where anything was. Wherever there was a path, we just ran. No thinking, just pure instinct. We screamed as loud as we could while running, slammed rocks against tree trunks, crashed through the undergrowth, just like the squad leader told us. And sure enough, the Chinese soldiers gave chase. Thankfully, they were still a ways behind. They hadn't caught up yet. The moon that night was bright. Unnaturally bright, like daylight. Under that cold, silvery light, the forest looked surreal. Beautiful, but eerie. We ran non-stop, but somehow, I didn't feel tired at all. It was as if something inside me was pushing me forward, whispering, "Don't stop. Keep going." As we ran, Sunny and I suddenly froze. Right ahead of us stood an old woman, slowly making her way through the forest. She was frail and bony, her hair tied up, but completely disheveled. Her face was deeply wrinkled, spotted with patches of rough, scar-like skin. She was holding tightly onto 2 dead ducks. I was stunned for a moment. An old woman, in the middle of the forest, during a war, clutching 2 dead ducks? I rushed over and asked, "Grandma, why aren't you hiding? Where are your family? Why are you out here all alone?" She didn't say a word, just clutched the ducks even tighter, like she was afraid I'd snatch them from her. Then, slowly, she glanced up at me. Sunny tried asking her again, but she remained silent. Her face, I still don't know how to describe it. Her eyes were dull, lifeless, staring through us, like we weren't even there. Just looking at them gave me chills. We started hearing footsteps behind us. The Chinese soldiers were closing in. I panicked and shouted, "Grandma, if you stay here, you'll die. Let us carry you, we'll hide together." Still no response, just her clutching those ducks, and that cold, motionless stare. Sunny leaned in and whispered, "This isn't good. Let's take turns carrying her. If we leave her here, she'll die." We honestly thought, maybe she was too old, too slow to keep up, and her family had no choice but to abandon her in the chaos. Even though we were exhausted and being chased, we couldn't bring ourselves to leave an old woman alone in the middle of the jungle. So I bent down, getting ready to lift her onto my back. Sunny turned to me and said quickly, "Let me carry her first. You take over when I get tired." I nodded and reached out to help lift her. But carrying her wasn't easy. She held tightly onto those 2 dead ducks, refusing to budge. I said gently, "Grandma, we're going to carry you now, okay? Please give us the ducks to hold for you. Just wrap your arms around his neck, so it's easier." Still, she didn't say a word. Her face remained blank, eyes as cold as ashes. She clutched the ducks so tightly, her whole body stiffened, as if frozen. Not even a twitch of her fingers. We exchanged a helpless glance. Sunny sighed. "All right, I'll carry her. You run right beside me, in case she slips." I nodded. Sunny bent down again, and I did my best to help lift the old woman onto his back. But she remained stiff, refusing to wrap her arms around his neck. Her hands still clutched the 2 dead ducks, like they were some kind of treasure. I had to run right beside him, keeping one hand on her back and shoulder, steadying her, pushing slightly to make sure she wouldn't fall. The footsteps of the Chinese soldiers were getting closer. We both ran like mad. The jungle trail was rough. Branches slapped at our faces, stinging sharply, but we didn't dare stop. After a while, Sunny panted hard and gasped, "I'm exhausted, your turn." Without hesitation, I helped him lower her off his back, then crouched down so she could climb onto mine. But the moment she touched me, I froze. A horrible stench hit me full force. It was sharp and metallic, like fresh blood. Chicken blood, duck blood? But beneath that, there was something far worse. A sickening, rotting smell, faint but clinging to my throat, like smoke. It was the smell of decay. Of something long dead, decomposing slowly in silence. At first, I told myself, maybe hygiene in the mountains wasn't great. And she was carrying 2 dead ducks. Maybe the smell came from them. So I forced myself to ignore it, shut my eyes, and kept running. Sunny now ran behind me, one hand on my back, helping to hold her steady. We'd only covered about 1 kilometer. But it already felt like we were on the brink of collapse. I couldn't help but think, if only she would let us carry the ducks, or at least wrap her arms around our shoulders, it would have made carrying her so much easier. But she didn't cooperate at all. She was like a wooden statue. Cold, silent, unyielding. Behind us, the enemy's footsteps grew louder, clearer, marching steadily, closing in. Sunny turned to me, gasping for breath. "This isn't good. If we keep running like this, they'll catch us." Just then, a beam of moonlight cut through the trees, slicing across the forest floor. Sunny suddenly shouted, "Over there, a rock crevice." I followed his gaze. Across the slope, I saw it too. A rocky alcove, just over a meter high, with a steep incline of maybe 75 degrees. It wasn't perfect, but it was just high enough to hide in, and still low enough for us to jump up into. "Quick," Sunny urged, "let's take cover in there." Sunny was panting hard, pointing ahead. "There, that rock crevice. We should get her up there and hide, or we're done for. We're running too slow, they're right behind us." I looked where he pointed. And sure enough, there was a shallow cave jutting out from the hillside. It wasn't very big, but it was high enough to keep us out of sight. We didn't have time to think. We just ran, straight toward it. We gently set the old woman down at the base. Sunny scrambled up first, quick and nimble. From above, he called out, "Lift her up, I'll pull." I braced myself, and tried to push her up. Her body was stiff as ever. She still clung tightly to the two dead ducks, eyes dull, lips sealed. She didn't help at all. Didn't even flinch, as if she were just a lifeless weight. We were hauling around. And just as I was struggling to push her, and Sunny was leaning down to pull, two Chinese soldiers burst through the brush. They pointed their rifles at us and started yelling furiously in Mandarin. I couldn't understand a word, but the message was clear: surrender, or die. Sunny instantly dropped down. I let go of the old woman. We both raised our hands high into the air. No one said a word. But I knew, we were all thinking the same thing. This is it, we're dead. 1,000 thoughts suddenly flashed through my mind. I had only been in the army for less than a day. I had just arrived at the camp that afternoon. And now, here I was, deep in the forest, with enemy rifles pointed at my head. If I died, would it count as a sacrifice? Would they carve my name into the war memorial, like they did for my grandfather? I thought of my mother, of my grandmother, of the tiny village where I grew up. I was only 19, hadn't even fallen in love, hadn't done anything truly meaningful with my life. Was it really going to end like this? The two soldiers were massive, their faces wild and feral, like jungle beasts. They barked out more commands, probably telling us to get on the ground or to kneel. Sunny and I didn't dare move. We just held our hands as high as we could. And then it happened. The thing that, even now, more than 40 years later, I still can't forget. The soldier closest to the old woman had just started to squeeze the trigger, when suddenly, she hurled the two dead ducks to the ground and sprang up like a black shadow, launching herself straight at him. I had no idea what was happening. One moment, she had been dragging her feet, feeble and pitiful. And now, she was clinging tightly to his neck, slamming him backward, and sinking her teeth deep into his throat. Yes, I saw it, with my own eyes. The moonlight sliced through the branches just enough for me to see. Her jaws clamped tightly onto his neck, tearing into his flesh. Blood spurting out in thick, heavy jets. She let out guttural growls, sounds no human throat could possibly make. It was like a starving tiger finally pouncing on prey. The soldier let out a bone-chilling scream. He flailed his arms, kicked wildly, as blood splattered rhythmically onto the ground. I stood frozen. Sun, right beside me, was stiff as a statue. And the most terrifying thing, the other soldier didn't move either. He stood there, stunned, paralyzed, watching his comrade being bitten, clawed, and torn apart chunk by chunk. Unable to do a thing. Maybe he didn't even understand what he was witnessing. And me? I was barely breathing. A part of me screamed inside, "Run!" But my legs wouldn't move. The soldier being attacked let out the most agonizing scream. Exactly like the cry of prey caught in a tiger's jaws. That blood-curdling shriek, it seemed to snap the other soldier out of his trance. He dropped his gun, lunged forward, and tried to pull the old woman off his comrade. But he couldn't. She clung to him with a grip like iron. Her frail-looking arms locked around him so tightly, it was like her body no longer obeyed human laws. And I swear, that soldier was a big guy. Thick, muscular. If I had to fight him hand to hand, he would have crushed me in seconds. Yet now, he was pinned to the ground by an old woman who looked like a gust of wind could knock her over. And he couldn't break free. Blood kept pouring from his neck like a stream. And she kept growling, kept biting, kept ripping flesh, like she was possessed. The other soldier, realizing he couldn't pull her off, panicked. He jumped up, suddenly remembering his rifle. He grabbed it, turned, aiming the barrel at the old woman's back. But he never got to pull the trigger. Sonny, my comrade, was faster. He bent down, grabbed a large rock, and slammed it straight into the soldier's head. I don't know if he was dead or just unconscious, but he hit the ground hard, blood spilling from his scalp, soaking his face. Hearing Sonny shout snapped me out of my trance. I lunged forward and joined him, smashing down on the fallen soldier with the rock. We hit him again and again, desperate, wild. The scene was absolute chaos, pure horror. On one side, the old woman was still growling, still clamped onto the other soldier's neck, like some beast out of a nightmare. On the other, Sonny and I were raining blows down on the head of the second soldier, with everything we had. Eventually, the soldier stopped moving. No more twitching, no more sound. Sonny bent down, grabbed his rifle, and motioned to me. "Hey, grab the other one." He meant the gun from the soldier still being torn apart by that thing. That woman. I crept forward slowly. Even though she seemed fully fixated on shredding the soldier's throat, my whole body was trembling. I was terrified she might suddenly lunge at me next. As I crouched down to reach for the gun, I saw her mouth, still locked onto his neck, like her jaw had fused with his flesh. But what truly froze my blood was her eyes. They were glowing, glinting in the dark, like a cat's under moonlight. And they flicked toward me with a look that was both predatory and wild. Like she was deciding whether I might be the next one. As I leaned in closer, I could hear it, those awful sounds, coming from deep inside her throat, like someone drinking greedily from a cup. A chill shot down my spine when I realized she was drinking his blood. But that wasn't all. From her throat came other noises. A haunting, drawn-out wail, like a cat crying in the dead of night. It was inhuman, eerie, and pierced right through me. Terrified beyond words, I snatched up the rifle and sprang to my feet. But even then, I couldn't move. I stood frozen, still staring at her, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. It wasn't until Sonny ran over, slapped my shoulder hard, and shouted, "Run, run!" That's when I snapped out of it. Without thinking, we bolted. We ran and ran, not daring to look back. My mind was screaming one thing. What if she finishes that soldier, and then comes for us? So we just kept running. Down the trail, through the woods, any path we could find, it didn't matter. We didn't care where we were going. We didn't feel tired. We only wanted to get as far away from that place as humanly possible. We kept running, through the forest, Heads down, legs pounding. Until we finally heard a rooster crowing at dawn. Only then did we dare stop. By that time, both Sunny and I were completely exhausted. Our legs felt like they were about to give out. We collapsed beneath a large tree, gasping for breath. We hadn't even caught our breath when an old Thai man appeared, walking toward us. He looked surprised and asked, "Why are you lying here in the middle of the forest?" Still shaken, Sunny and I rushed to tell him everything. Every terrifying detail. Then we pleaded with him, asking, "Do you know the way back to our unit? Have you seen any officers nearby?" The old man just nodded quietly and said, "All right, get up and follow me." At that moment, Sunny and I were still holding rifles, the ones we'd taken from those 2 Chinese soldiers. We followed the old man, not expecting much. But to our surprise, he led us straight back, right to the exact spot where our squad leader was stationed. When we reunited with our squad leader, he was surprised to see the 2 of us holding rifles. "Hey, where'd you get those guns from?" Sunny and I looked at each other. There was a pause. Neither of us knew where to begin. Then, we started recounting everything. The old woman with the ducks. The 2 Chinese soldiers. The horrifying scene in the dark forest. When we finished, there was a long silence. No one laughed. No one asked if we were making it up. No one doubted what we said. Only the old Thai man, the one who had brought us back, finally spoke. His voice was calm and steady, as if what we'd told him wasn't strange at all. "So, you 2 ran into FeiFeng?" I blinked. "FeiFeng?" He nodded, then slowly explained. "FeiFeng is a vampire spirit of the Northwest. It's something that exists between the realms of human and demon. No one knows where it comes from, but it only shows up during times of war and chaos. You 2 were lucky to survive. If it hadn't taken care of those 2 soldiers first, your bodies would probably still be lying out there in the forest." Hearing that sent a chill down my spine. I couldn't tell if it was the cold mountain wind or the realization that we had come face to face with something not of this world. I was covered in goosebumps as I listened. Our squad leader just shook his head and patted us on the shoulders. "It's all right, don't be scared. You 2 hold on to those rifles. Use them to protect yourselves." Later on, when things calmed down and we stayed in that area for a while longer, I learned something chilling. The story of the vampire wasn't just some rumor. Locals told us there are actually 2 types of vampires here. The gentle ones, who only feed on chickens, ducks, frogs, or fish. And the dangerous ones, those who hunt people and won't even spare newborn babies. Looking back now, I realize just how lucky Sunny and I were. First, we escaped the enemy's bullets. Second, although that old woman was a vampire, she saved our lives. Thanks to her, Sunny and I were able to survive and return to our unit deep in that wild, unforgiving jungle. We never saw her again. But even now, sometimes in my dreams, I still see those glowing eyes in the dark.